Hi, I'm Candace.
And I'm Ripley.
And this is Comicsplaining.
The show where gray is the new blue.
It seems so, yeah.
But we're not going to talk about that just yet. Welcome back. With this episode, we're going to get around to one of the biggest discrepancies you may see with what we've been covering over here with the X-Men and more modern interpretations. But again, we're going to save that for a little bit later. So we're going to be doing Amazing Adventures 11 from December of 1971, and we've got a whole host of new names here. Writing, we have Jerry Conway, who started getting writing jobs at age 16. He's not quite that young here. He's 19, which is actually also when he picked up Amazing Spider-Man from Stan. And that's where I'm most familiar with Jerry Conway from. He's also, for wide-known things, he's the guy who wrote The Night Gwen Stacy Died, along with all kinds of other shit. So again, the tides are beginning to change again with comic books. The Silver Age is fading away into the Bronze. We've got Tom Sutton on pencils, and when I looked up some things about Mr. Sutton, I found out he was the first artist on Vampirella, and also that he too has a meeting Stan story, and since these, I think, should become a staple of our show, here we go.
Go ahead.
So Stan looked at stuff I'd brought in, which was stuff that I think I'd done in the service for Stars and Stripes in Tokyo. I think he was rather impressed by the fact that I had actually done a daily comic strip for 2 years. He didn't get many people who had done that. He just reached over and pulled off this huge pile of blank paper, and he said, "Okay, do me a couple westerns, and I'll see you next week. Have fun." I love Stan.
Yeah.
We've got Sid Shores on inks, and I guess he worked with Marvel in both the Silver and the Gold Ages. Did some work on the Captain America comics from the 40s.
Wow. Old-timer.
Yep. Last we've got Sam Rosen on letters, and since we didn't start saying things about creators until a little later, let's give you a Sam Rosen fun fact. He apparently designed most of the logos for the series in the Silver Age. I also, last episode, missed noting that as of KSR number 3, Roy Thomas is now the editor-in-chief over at Marvel, though Stan is still doing a lot of the editing on the individual issues.
Okay, cool. Good for him.
Yep. We open by watching a security guard, or a cop, who knows, they seem to be fairly interchangeable in the Marvel Universe.
Truly.
It's late at night, and it would seem that he is on his rounds. By his thought bubbles, though, it would seem he's up to something a bit more nefarious. He's thinking about getting away with something, but also he's got this funny feeling that he's being watched, which turns out to be pretty on the ball as a big shaggy something watches him from the rooftop.
Spooky.
The guard continues on his rounds, completely oblivious to the fact that the shaggy gray somebody is following him nearly effortlessly from above.
I like how you're doing this, and it's going to be immediately spoiled on the YouTube version.
Yeah, I know. Shut up. Let me have the drama.
Just being a little bit over the top, but it's okay, because I love you.
Look.
I support you, it's okay.
I'm gay enough to I think I can have that.
Why is this man's uniform red?
Well, to make sure you know he's a security guard and not a cop. It does actually say security on his badge.
It does. Helpfully labeled.
This hat is terrible, though. Why is it pleated?
Yeah, it's really bad.
I don't think that's how that's supposed to look.
No.
Anyway, that's somebody watching him from up above. We see the guard approach the door to a genetic research laboratory, though Shaggy over here doesn't get the ruh-roh we get, as the guard thinks about how whatever he's going to do is going to solve all of his financial woes. Finally, we get to check up what he's actually up to. Benny, that's the guard, pulls some kind of tiny portable blowtorch which he uses to melt his way into the lab. And all of this time, the narration has been in second person for some fucking reason. Why, Gerald? Benny pushes his way into the lab, but he's been beat there by Shaggy, who apparently didn't have to melt his way in or anything. Well, anyways, you pounce down on Benny and kick him in the chest pretty good. And also, you're laughing because of reasons, because you're a hairy guy? It's not clear why you're like this.
Second person, just to me, it has a very specific flavor and memory associated with it. And a lot of people our age can relate to that. You know, a lot of people don't like second person because they say it doesn't make sense or it's not good to write in. But, you know, sometimes you just get used to seeing something in a certain context. Anyway, go ahead.
Well, anyway, if you're insecure about being a hairy guy, get some Nair. Hit up the salon. Get you in for a few wax treatments, and we'll get all that sorted out. I'm not gonna say it's not gonna hurt. Well, anyway, you continue beating on Benny, and then unreasonably, Betty pulls out a gun and shoots you. Fucking Chandler Bing back at it again at the Krispy Kreme. Well, Chandler's fucked up about the fact that you talked, and it turns out that your talking has driven him to madness.
Okay, that seems a bit extreme.
We then also find out that you're Hank. Hi, Hank.
Hi, Hank.
You're suddenly a gray monkey man with a bat face, so that's a new look for you.
Yeah, it's a little bit different.
Well, Betty shoots us again, which is fucking rude. We then kick Benny through the door, and it turns out that there are armed soldiers outside, which I thought we were at a science laboratory, but what do I know? Apparently the soldiers aren't here for you, though. Benny tripped some kind of alarm when he fucking melted his way into this bitch. The soldiers start opening fire at Benny, and we get out of here while the getting is good. You tuck yourself away somewhere safe.
I don't like this.
Ends well, but it doesn't end well, as we hear Benny getting fucking shot. See how you like it, Chandler. You're horrified over what happened, though I don't know why you didn't see this coming. The army guys were already firing at him before you got yourself back safely tucked away. But we're very upset, as we did go back into our lab. At least you got away safe, or did you? Because when you look at the clock on the wall, you're very alarmed. It's much later than you thought it was, and that means you're late. You're late for a very important date. No time to say hello, goodbye, you're late, you're late, you're late. You rush off into your lab, desperately checking equipment, and running it on yourself. Because if whatever has happened has run too long, you'll be stuck in this form.
Uh-oh.
But the results are of no comfort, confirming your worst fears. You, Hank McCoy, are stuck like this. You look at a picture of your friends, the X-Men, that you keep in your lab, and throw it across the lab, projecting your anger at your own hubris onto them. You're not adjusting to this situation very well, but I suppose that's understandable. You think back to brighter days, and then the day that you left the X-Mansion for a job at the Brand Corporation.
We're gonna have to tag this for unreality.
Fair. You wanted to sneak out without a fuss, but apparently forgot you live in a house with 2 telepaths. As you do. Charles calls you one of his best students, which is high praise considering there have been a total of 8, if we're counting Mimic. But you have to get a move on. You have to make it to work bright and early the next day. And so you return to your room to pack, packing away the picture from the lab in your suitcase with the rest of your belongings.
I find it difficult to believe that Charles just let him go.
It's weird, right?
I'm sorry, I mean you.
Yes.
Let you go.
How did he let us go? I don't know. He's like, I'm a smart guy, I can make things.
I guess.
You go do your thing, Hank. Maybe that'll be good to do sometimes. So anyway, you've packed your suitcase, and despite the difficulty, you say goodbye to your beloved friends and drive off into the future. When you make it into work, you make your way up to greet your new boss, Mr. Grant, eager to start your work on genetic mutation, seeking to understand what makes you, you. The boss gives you a tour of the place and introduces us to Ms. Donaldson, apparently an assistant to another scientist that we will be working with, Professor Maddox, who handily shows himself and makes it clear that he's not happy at all to be working with us. And he can handle his work all by himself. Thank you very much. The boss man finally gets Maddox to calm down a little bit by explaining that we're going to be working on our own project. Later, Ms. Donaldson, Linda if you're nasty, comes up to apologize for her boss's behavior. And that seemed to be the start of something new and wonderful in your life.
I really am not enjoying this at all.
It's really bad, right?
It's really terrible. I never Even when I read things in second person, I never considered it in this... in the context that it actually is. It's really uncomfortable.
It's really weird. What are we up
We
to?
are inhabiting Hank McCoy's body.
That's true.
We are one with him.
We are piloting this mech.
It's like fucking, being John Malkovich.
It's like that fucking guy with the alien from Men in Black.
Oh my god.
I meant the guy with the little alien.
I
not
understand.
The cockroach alien. Anyway.
Sugar water. Gone.
Work at the lab turns into candlelit dinners, turns into walks along a moonlit shore. And as you and Linda dash along the beach, laughing and chasing, until finally your lips meet in a kiss.
Oh my god, Hank has a girlfriend?
He does.
That's ridiculous. Hopefully he doesn't call her a wench.
God only can hope. Even after the date ends, and for days to come, your heart still soars as you embrace your new life, throwing yourself into your work with increased gusto. But things with Professor Maddox have not improved. In fact, he's come around to pester us about our work, even while we're trying to focus on our work. You blow him off and he stomps off, talking about effectively how he's gonna complain to the boss. Whatever, he's gone now. So we can finally complete our work on the genetic extractor, through which you found it, the chemical cause of mutation.
The what now?
The chemical hormonal cause of mutation.
Okay.
Delighted you run through the lab, excited to report your findings to Mr. Grant. If you work with this, you could make any man a mutant, at least for a while. We make it to Professor Carl Maddox's lab, where we halt for a moment, considering telling him of our revelation.
I like how this dude isn't Maddox in the way you would expect. It's literally Mad Dicks. This not.
I would have spelled it Maddixs. Or X.
Maddox is generally.
That's also a good way.
It's just
this is the wrong one.
You should call him Mad Dick.
Yeah. We're gonna tell Maddox about what we've been up to, but before we get the chance, we begin to overhear a phone call from within the room. We're eavesdroppers. Professor Maddox is acting shifty as hell, talking with this Agent 9 on the other end of the phone about how he thinks you're onto something, and he arranges for Benny, his guy in security, to come to your lab after you leave for the night and do something. You've got a whole new situation on your hands. You're gonna have to do something, but you can't act as you. You're too distinct. People will make the connection between the big-footed beast and Hank McCoy, the new golden boy at Brand. They haven't so far, but they will now. You consider your options before deciding that you would use your new experiment. Drink it to change your form, and then so long as you return within an hour, theoretically, we should be able to drink an antidote that we haven't even fucking made to change back to normal.
Great idea, Hank. You're so smart.
You're so smart.
The smartest boy.
Again, we haven't tested this out on anyone, mutant or not. It's fresh out the oven. You have no control, or even real proof of what would really happen. But you, a mutant, decide that in an act of hubris, you're going to drink the hormonal extract. And then you begin to change, your body twisting and sprouting thick gray fur. I thought the beast was blue. You that is you, and not us, says. Ah, fuck it.
That was really confusing.
Well, how am I supposed to talk about our audience and not the you that is we? We are Hank McCoy!
You, the audience, may be asking, I thought Hank was blue. Because obviously Hank didn't think he was blue. He is wearing blue underwear, though.
Well, that's just his favorite color. Convenient, really.
Very convenient. I like how the hormone also gave him shitty hair. Really bad haircut. Like a really bad haircut. Like he had normal hair, and now his hair is just really bad.
Like, Wolverine and Rogue had a baby that was also a monkey, but had their distinctive hairstyles both in one.
Yeah. It's like if Wolverine's hair was a mullet, basically. It's really bad. It's really bad.
It's really bad.
Okay.
Anyway, you find yourself back at the start of our story, and then trash your lab. That's how you roll now. But you've let your anger take you this far, and who set us all on this course? Professor Mad Dick. Man, fuck that guy.
Get him! Get Mad Dick.
You go get you some Mad Dick. You spring back off towards the lab and to Mad Dick's office. But I guess you're not really the talk it down kind of guy, so you just kick the door down.
That's fair.
Knocking down both Mad Dick and a few more of the security guards.
Who are wearing fuchsia.
Yeah, the guy wasn't wearing red, that was just like the yellow
lighting.
overlighting it. He was wearing fuchsia the whole time. Benny.
That's quite a color for your security guard uniforms.
I like how well it's coordinated with Mad Dick's bright chartreuse blazer.
I would have said puce.
Puce is fair. Puce is fair. You have any number of terrible colors to choose between.
True.
We've kicked down the door. Quickly, you're swarmed by even more guards, trying to stop you from tearing Mad Dick limb from limb. One of the guards makes to shoot you, and oh yeah, you did get shot earlier, and God, aren't you tired of being shot today?
So is he just bulletproof now?
We'll get there.
Okay.
You fling the guard across the room and leap at Mad Dick, straddling him.
Straddling that Mad Dick!
Yeah, you go straddle Mad Dick. And squeeze him with your giant furred hands around his neck because he's into that. You begin to squeeze, but at least for a brief moment, the man inside the beast manages to get things under control, reminding you that at the end of the day, you're the one who drank the extract. You leap out the window and into the night, but little do you know that back behind you, Agent 9 has arrived at Professor Mad Dick's office just as requested. But after this fiasco, it's not for whatever business they'd arranged over the phone. No, Linda Donaldson informs Carl that his incompetence has earned him only death before shooting him in the head.
Oh no! It's his girlfriend, so he didn't actually get a girlfriend.
Exactly.
Wow.
The girlfriend got him good.
Tragic.
Is it, though? I mean, for Linda.
No.
Back to the wench thing.
I did it! I killed Iron Man!
He did! Now that we've done all that, let's carry on with Amazing Adventures 12 from February of 1972. Written by Steve Englehart, who has taken over. He's fairly well known for his work on Captain America, and throughout the 70s and 80s was a fairly prolific writer on the superhero scene. But here, this is actually his first credited work on a superhero book, so that's fun.
Cool.
Tom Sutton is back on pencils, but we have another new name for our inker, Mike Ploog. Mike seems to have worked primarily on a lot of the horror characters Marvel was getting into with the loosening of the comics code in 1971. But a fun Mike Ploog fact is that before he got into writing comics, he worked in animation on a Batman-Superman show. And since I did the same for Sam last issue, I think it's only fair to give you a fun fact that our letterer, Artie Simek, he's another guy who's actually been working with Marvel since before they were Marvel back in the 40s, when they were Timely Comics. He created the other half of all the iconic logos from the 60s, and was known by his friends to be good at playing the spoons.
Wow. A real Renaissance man.
Can do it all, baby. So let's get to it. On the cover, as you mentioned, we see that the Beast has successfully killed Iron Man.
I didn't know that was a thing he wanted to do.
It sounds right. I mean, I barely know who Iron Man is, but he's been dead since the 70s, so that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, one of those old D-list heroes that nobody cares about because Beast killed him.
Yep. Yeah, the art on this first
He's
page...
melting!
Yeah, this art is fucking terrifying on the first page.
He is melting!
But I'm honestly way too focused on Steve Englehart being a normal fucking person and writing in the third person.
Thank God.
So you finally get to disengage from the second person.
Okay. Good, I don't want to do it again.
Me either.
It was really bad and uncomfortable.
It was terrible to write.
And also, I don't want to be this soggy, melting man. He's just very...
gross.
bad. Very bad. And he's still in his underwear.
Yeah, he's not a looker. Well, they're still clean. Beast crouches on the wires high above the roads inside the Brand Corporation. Security guards scour the area looking for the monster that attacked Professor Mad Dick, unaware that he's right overhead. The next page is a fairly concise retelling of the last issue before we snap back to the present, where Hank realizes he's undergoing a mental probe. We find that the culprit was Jean Grey, reaching out to catch up with her dear friend, but she's meeting with a lot of trouble in doing it. When she takes the matter to Professor X, of course Cerebro is conveniently on the fritz. Still, it's nice that when something is up with their friend, the X-Men do take notice. Both of them commit their mental energies to the probe, using Cerebro to boost their thoughts, though with Cerebro glitching out, it still conveniently won't display an image of Hank. Finally, they start to break through to Hank, who realizes who he's hearing from. A brief spark of hope occurs to him. The professor is the expert on mutation. Maybe he could help. But then, with his anger, Beast yet again chooses hubris, insisting that he is an expert and he'll fix it his damn self, before snapping for Charles to leave him alone. Jean is utterly distraught, insisting that they have to go find Hank and help him with whatever has him so upset. But Charles vetoes the idea, reminding Jean of how quiet they've had to be as the X-Men lately. It seems that events in Las Vegas with the Hulk have had some public backlash. No, if Hank wishes to handle this on his own, he'll get his wish.
Great job, Chuck.
He's such a dick.
Right.
He then begins to ponder how he can get back to his life. The Beast is now sought in Professor Mad Dick's death, and even if he weren't, he is now even more apparently a mutant to the world at large, and that has the potential to get very ugly for him. And so instead, right in the middle of all this grim and gritty shit, he decides that he's going to break into first the library to get out some books on makeup, and second a costume shop so he can get the supplies he needs to make this happen.
You should also invest in some waxing supplies.
Indeed. Now, the amount of time that you have spent figuring out how makeup for certain cosplays, which shall not be named, should be done. You've got to be loving Hank McCoy, showing up to make a photorealistic mask of his own face and hands overnight and pulling it off.
Fuck off.
I guess at least he didn't get it on the first try, but he got it in one fucking night.
He just hand sculpted it. You can't do that. Even when they make professional fucking masks of people's faces, they have to take a mold. You can't just hand sculpt it.
Speaking of Renaissance men.
I'm so mad about this.
I knew you would be. So anyway, he puts on a posture corrector to get himself standing up straight. And with that,
Mood.
Yeah, I feel that. With that, he is all set to head back to work tomorrow like nothing happened. Back in, the Beast is the subject of much office gossip, including by one of his green-haired colleagues.
Why is this man's hair green?
He must be a fellow mutant cursed by the green genes that turn his poor hair green.
He's a relative of Lorna, clearly.
Clearly. I know I've been going on about this guy for a while, but this guy is an older-looking dude, so I want to know the source of his confidence so I can drain it back into myself.
Right.
Back at the lab, Hank works feverishly, furiously seeking a way to cure his present condition. He wants no disruptions and snaps throughout the day at anyone who interrupts him, rushing them all off. But when Mr. Grant calls, wanting to show his work off to visitors, unfortunately, he can't just tell the boss man no. And so a few minutes later, Grant shows up with Tony Stark and his fiancée, Marianne Rogers. Candace, you've read some Iron Man. Do you know anything about Marianne Rogers? Who dat?
Well, she is a lady that Tony was engaged to briefly, and this other guy who Tony was friends with was also in love with her. So he tried to kill Tony, but died in the process. And then Marianne blamed Tony for the other guy's death completely erroneously. And then she started having psychic visions and gained powers. So Tony was really concerned about her. So he had her committed.
Holy shit!
And then she was really mad about that. So she broke out and became a supervillain.
Okay.
So, it worked out really well for him.
Yeah, Tony makes such good choices relationship-wise.
Okay.
To be fair.
The fact that he had her committed sounds bad.
Yeah.
But he was trying to help.
His intentions were good. But
intentions were good. He just didn't understand. It was the 70s,
Yep.
They didn't know that psych hospitals are sometimes not good.
So, yeah, she's here. Supervillain in the making, Marianne Rogers.
Yeah.
And the pair of them are touring the labs, meeting all of the big brains at Brand. Hank, in a very chilly mood, snaps at Tony about his weapons manufacturing, which I suppose gives a hint to his politics, other than living in a commune of activists. Kind of. But Tony takes this in stride, explaining that he's actually here to diversify his interests.
That makes me mad because Stan, this is the thing that really bothers me about Iron Man comics.
Yeah.
At the end of Stan's run, he had Tony announce that he was not making weapons anymore.
Okay.
And the next writer immediately ignored that.
Do we know when the end of that was?
Stan's
run?
Not offhand, but it was fairly early. It was either in the 60s or right at the beginning of the 70s because he didn't actually write Iron Man for that long.
Well, if it is at the beginning of the 70s, that's right where we are, so this may be at the turning the corner.
It's just annoying to me that Stan did it, and then the other writers were like, nah.
Yeah, but Tony here wants to make things better. He wants to find other, less violent directions for his company to go in, and he thinks Hank McCoy may be onto something that he's curious about. This seems to warm Hank's demeanor slightly, though he still wants to get back to his work, and then in comes Linda Donaldson, looking to invite Hank to lunch. Well, Tony, ever the romantic, gets the goo-goo eyes over young love and is more than happy to move along on his merry way, but as you recall, Linda is our unknown Agent 9, though we don't actually know what that really means at this point, but whatever sinister organization she works with would be very interested in finding out just what Tony Stark is up to. And so suddenly lunch isn't such a priority. She wants to hear this shit. R.I.P. to poor Hank, who doesn't want to hear any of this shit or be talking to any of these people at this exact moment.
Poor Hank.
Linda has her own brief explanation of what happened last issue, though we do now know that she's the only agent left at Brand. She then excuses herself? I guess she's waiting to get some alone time with Hank and ask him what Stark says? Doesn't make much sense to me, but hey. Marianne, though, immediately notes that she thinks something is fishy about Donaldson. Tony then, in a cringy moment, writes it off as jealousy over how he was going a little gaga over Linda.
Tony, please.
Cool.
Please, be better than this.
Egomaniac. At least in that moment. Goddamn. Rogers then continues dissing Hank's ladylove, stating that she's evil and Hank should be careful, which finally pushes his simmering temper to a full boil. And he excuses himself off to have that lunch after all. Good day, sir. Marianne and Tony, left behind in the lab, briefly discuss that her powers say that Linda has positively rancid vibes.
Yeah, she does that. She just... like I said, she just started having visions. She basically became, she got telepathy and telekinesis.
Baloney, man. The vibes are terrible.
Yeah.
Tony, in a much more sober mood now, pretty much nods along in agreement, intending to return and check out the situation at Brand as Iron Man. Outside, Hank is caught up with Linda, ready to have his lunch after all. She notes that he's not sweating, which just rolls right off him, much like the sweat would do, if he could.
Does he have to pant now?
Oh my god. I hadn't considered that, and I've never considered that, and that's very distracting. Hank longs to kiss Linda, but he can't very well kiss her with a rubber face, and so the pair head off to their lunch date. Later, Beast lets off some steam, cutting loose in his new body, jumping around an indistinct colored void.
Yeah, for real.
Thanks for all the art deeds, guys! Suddenly, Iron Man! Tony sees this guy and he's like, okay, let's talk about this like civilized folk. What's your deal, you funky little gray dude? Beast, however, somehow immediately correctly intuits that he's here about Linda. Like, fucking why? I guess Iron Man is known to be Tony Stark's bodyguard, but Tony was pretty chill about Linda, so do you think that Tony Stark just dispatches his bodyguard off to check on anyone who his girlfriend doesn't like? All I'm saying is that it's a weird assumption.
A little bit, yeah.
Beast yells for Tony to get away from Brand, as he's got no right to be here. And Tony's like, well, okay, but what about you? What's your deal anyway? Why are you here? But he still wants to just, like, talk this out. And Beast is in absolutely no mood to talk this out. And then he starts beating on Iron Man in defense of his girlfriend. I love that Tony knows he's just dealing with a dude who's reachable. Like, I do legitimately love that. Because even while he's fighting this dude he didn't expect to have to deal with, he's still trying to get this guy to just think with a clearer head and stop fighting.
Tony is smart sometimes. Sometimes Tony is, like, a cool guy.
Sometimes Tony's a really solid dude, sometimes he's not, but, like,
yeah.
I love the moments of good Tony.
I forgot how much I missed his nipple outlets. I haven't seen them in so long.
His nipple ports.
Yeah. You know what's the fucked up thing? He has to plug his chest piece into the wall, but he doesn't even plug them into the nipple ports. He plugs it directly into the middle part.
What?
Right?
What? Why are they there? Just to be
nipples.
Just to be nipples? Got that George Clooney batsuit energy?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Exactly.
Okay, well.
It's just like, it's like one of those, like, old school Greco-Roman chest plates where they had, like, the sculpted abs and nipples. It's just that.
It's just being a dork.
Yes.
Well, Hank's not gonna bite on Tony's I don't want to fight you thing, as his rage runs havoc through his mind. Iron Man momentarily uses his titty beam to blind the Beast. And that gives him the chance he needs to stop the Beast's rampage. Immediately after breaking off the fight, Brand's security guards rush onto the scene, demanding that he freeze. Linda, apparently still at work, rushes onto the scene, pointing out that this is Iron Man and he's one of the good guys. Tony then has the moment to offer an explanation for the ruckus. That he just had a fight with some guy called the Beast, but it's all good now. While his attention is caught up on this, though, he doesn't notice the hulking figure rising up behind him. Linda shouts in alarm, but Tony doesn't have the chance to react as the Beast cold cocks him, and then the fight begins anew. The security guards, in complete disregard for the fact that Iron Man is also there, begin to open fire on the Beast.
He's wearing armor, it's fine.
Sure. They hit him again, and we still haven't acknowledged the fact that Hank has been shot multiple times, so let's get to that. Because the Beast is apparently also graced with a healing factor that repairs the damage almost immediately. If I recall, this doesn't stick around, though it is reminiscent of a certain someone soon to come.
That's a very fast healing factor. Even Wolverine doesn't heal that fast.
Sometimes he does. Sometimes he doesn't. It's all the writer.
It's very extreme. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, no, it's really out of nowhere and I don't understand it. So the bullet wounds, they don't do anything to stop his rampage. Beast then leaps atop the Avenger, throttling him with his bare hands. Yeah, we're back on this shit again.
So, I assume that we're gonna address at some point this weird anger and, like, bestial nature that he's taken on.
I think so, yeah.
Part of the mutation, I guess.
I know we covered at some point. I don't remember exactly where.
Okay.
But it does fade. Very clearly. So he throttles him pretty good before throwing him across the room and continuing to unleash. Amidst a flurry of gunfire and violence, he howls that tonight the Beast kills! He leaps back at Tony once more, but on getting his hands on him, he realizes he isn't moving. There's no heartbeat. It's enough to get through to Hank once more, and in his fading bloodlust, he looks down at what his hands have wrought and leaps off into the night, howling in despair at his deeds.
Well, here's the thing about Tony.
His heart don't hurt too good.
No. It's kind of the whole thing about him.
Well, he finally bounds off into the woods, away from the gunfire, his pursuers, and the body left in his wake. However, not all is as McCoy believes. As back at Brand, Tony picks himself up, baffled over the beast's reaction, because he's very much not dead. I guess maybe he was laying still, and since he's wearing armor, Hank just didn't see him breathing. Maybe that's it.
Well, he said no heartbeat, though.
Yeah, but did he stop to check his pulse?
Can you check his pulse? He's
That's
wearing
what I'm
armor.
saying. But anyway, Tony, still seeing the man beneath the monster, opts not to continue his pursuit of the beast, hoping that he finds whatever piece he's looking for. And no one hounds him about the decision, having seen the grief on the creature's face when it thought it had killed Stark.
Iron Man, you mean?
What? Yeah. Oh yeah, Iron Man.
He's Tony Stark's bodyguard.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Out in the woods, though, there were other eyes watching the bounding beasts escape, and we finally understand why it is that Hank thought he murdered Iron Man, which, now that I'm thinking about, is a weird thing with him, thinking that he killed other superheroes.
Ooh.
But anyway, it would seem that the remnants of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants are gathered out in the woods, with Mastermind the responsible party, hoping to use this in a recruitment drive to get the beast on their team. But we're going to have to wait and see how that pans out until Amazing Adventures 13 from April of 1972. Written by Steve Englehart, pencils by Tom Sutton, inked by Frank Giacola, and lettered by a new name, John Costanza, who, according to Wikipedia, apparently has done a lot of art on books aimed at children. Comic book tie-ins with cartoons and shit like that. He was also given a Shazam Award for the Best Letterer of 1974, so we're here on his ascension.
Oh, exciting to see.
We open pretty much where we left off, though Mastermind is being significantly more dramatic. Arguing that all people have evil in them waiting to strike, but also bragging about how badass he is in the process because of his strike against the beast. Again, it seems a little dramatic to me, but okay. Unis is with me, of course, because Unis is also here. And so's the Blob.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, I just said the Brotherhood was here. Well, that's who we've got, these three players. Unis is like, we've all got powers. Shut the fuck up, Mastermind. You're not as big a deal as you think you are. He and Blob both explain their powers for Mastermind, who I'm assuming knows these things, but it's mostly for any new readers that haven't met up with these bozos before. Mastermind, in turn, explains his own powers and what he did to the beast, and anyway, you bozos can defend, but you can't attack, so get off my case, Unis! Let's just go get fucking beast, alright?
I don't like that Blob isn't wearing clothes.
I don't like that Mastermind's hair looks even worse than usual.
Yeah, it looks very thin and greasy.
It's worse.
It's really bad.
It's already bad, but it's really bad. So they set off after him while Mastermind projects an illusion of fire sweeping through the forest, only one direction free of the flames, funneling Beast right towards the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. Beast then physically runs into the two immovable lunkheads and then through an illusion of Mastermind. Blob then sits on him while Mastermind makes his case. Personally, if I was trying to get someone on my side, my first move would probably not have been to fight them, but that's just me.
Chuck did that too, didn't he? I feel like there was one time that Chuck wanted someone to join the X-Men.
Blob, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. And then he left, and then they were like, we're gonna go attack the Carnies, and then the Carnies were like, surprise, motherfucker!
Yeah, fighting people is not a good way to get
No, that's the time. You're right, that's the time when Blob was at the mansion before that.
Right, yes.
Okay, yeah, you're right. Yeah, I guess they just pull one out of Chuck's playbook, huh? Mm-hmm. They finally agree to let Beast up so Mastermind can continue with the pitch. And he explains how the Brotherhood is full of mutants who humanity have labeled dangerous freaks. And that it's humanity who names them as evil, so they take the name. He twists Beast's encounter with Iron Man, speaking of how Iron Man picked and prodded at him until Beast could no longer control himself. He's really the one to blame. We want to change society, take charge of things to protect mutants, and things will still be fine for humans. It's fine, really. Hank has, at some point, developed amnesia. I don't know why, but okay.
What?
Yeah, you just did.
Okay.
Yeah, you didn't see that addressed, right? Because I didn't see that addressed. In his foggy, distant memories, he recalls the feeling that he had to hide himself from mankind, and wishing that he could just live as himself among them, and so he decides to go along with Mastermind and the Brotherhood. Which actually, while Unus and Blob have at least mentioned their superhero names or supervillain names, I guess, Mastermind hasn't even fucking introduced himself.
Rude ass.
Anyway, they bear him away to the circus, explaining that whether they be humans suffering from some kind of physical birth defect or something, or mutants seeking to pass among them without jeopardizing their safety or desire for companionships, these people find their way here, mutant and human alike. Mastermind then finally addresses the elephant in the room. So, Beast, you're not you don't have anything to do with the other Beast, right? To which Beast is like, nope.
Nope.
Left on his own in the circus, Beast wanders the premises, thinking about Mastermind's last question. Something about that other Beast seems so familiar, and the Brotherhood themselves seem familiar, but he can't manage to put the pieces together quite yet. Meanwhile, a new day of business begins over at Brand. A car pulls through the gates, bearing an Air Force officer and his wife inside. They exit the car and head off to meet with Mr. Grant. The officer introduces himself as Captain Baxter and his wife as Pat. Grant begins showing them around the facilities. This seems to be one of his big jobs. The Air Force have sent Captain Baxter here after hearing about the recent chaos with Big Fuzzy, running around what was supposed to be a secure facility, and since Brand is a government contractor, Washington, D.C. has concerns. Grant continues on his tour, leading Baxter and his wife along to Hank McCoy's office, as he was working with Maddox. He was working with Mad Dicks.
Thank you. Thank you for correcting it. That is his true and lawful name.
It is. But when they open the door, they find McCoy's office empty. Baxter's concerns are definitely not reassured, and the trio set off through the facility to see if anyone else knows where the scientist has gotten off to. Or maybe something sinister has happened to him, too. They find their way to Linda, who seems very distressed on seeing Baxter, and over her concerns for Hank. Not only is there an Air Force officer right here who could compromise her assignment, but said assignment has also vanished into the night. And we've seen what this organization does when its agents are lacking. Grant then gives Captain Baxter Hank's address. The Baxters waste little time making their way out to McCoy's apartment, seeking for the errant researcher. They stand in the rain, ringing the buzzer to his apartment, but receive no answer. Captain Baxter, who apparently also goes by Buzz, goes for his skeleton key to find his way into the apartment, which would be fairly incriminating for Hank. But his wife, Patsy, will have nothing of it. The two of them head back towards Brand, leaving the Hank McCoy business for later, but outside a woman hears them mention Hank's name and is alarmed. But not for any reason we've seen here would be. Instead, she's worried that Patsy is dating Hank. So not Linda, someone new.
Is that his old girlfriend?
I don't know.
That was a very dramatic shrug.
It's a mystery. That same evening, the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, now with Hank among their number, stand gathered outside the gates of a giant mansion. Mastermind has a scheme at the ready. This house has excellent security. The doors and windows are all wired up to the alarm should they be opened, and the floor, too, is secured. I'm guessing with pressure sensors, but they don't elaborate. But the owners do leave one high, seemingly unreachable window open for ventilation. Maybe it's like the window to the attic or something, I don't know. But it makes sense that this house is so heavily secured, because in this house, the Ramur diamond, the largest gem in the world, is kept. Now, is this the same world's largest diamond from that Kesar story? Is it a new, even bigger diamond?
I should have said when we read that Khazar story, that diamond in that story wasn't even that big. This one also doesn't look very big. I mean, it's big for a diamond. It's not small, but, the world's biggest diamond, I think, is a little bit bigger than that.
Yeah. Yeah, it doesn't look that huge.
Maybe you should just say one of the world's biggest.
I think that would be the safest call.
Right.
But Mastermind wants to steal this diamond so he can sell it over and over while still letting an examiner legitimately check it out, which again, I feel like we're missing some information on how stealing well-known shit goes, but maybe it's just another big diamond, and that's not as distinctive as my brain feels like it is. Mm-hmm. People out there who know about gems, shoot us an email over at comicsplaining@gmail.com and let us know the deal.
Tell us how easy it is to fence a stolen diamond.
Gem people or professional thieves. Diamond fencers. Beast isn't sure he likes this plan, but he does go along with it. He explodes into motion, leaping upwards and building momentum by jumping from thing to thing until he finally flings himself across the yard and through the window of the mansion, catching himself on a chandelier. For some reason, these idiots keep the diamond in the same room they leave the window open in.
Wow.
Maybe it needs fresh air.
Don't diamonds also have, like, an engraved serial number?
A lot of the time, though, that may not have been a thing at this point.
Oh, I don't know.
But it also means that despite not having been told, Hank immediately finds the rock. They keep it behind a bookshelf, which Hank moves. Luckily, whatever floor alarms they have don't care about moving a whole-ass bookshelf.
Right.
Hank reaches ever so carefully between the beams of the electric eye, concerned that if he touches them, they'll hear the alarm all the way up in Westchester, another thing that seems to stir memories. But he manages it and quickly gets out the same way he came in. He makes it back over to his compatriots, but along the way starts thinking about how this doesn't seem to have anything to do with the cause Mastermind espoused before. He doesn't think he should hand it over, and says as much, but after Mastermind throws a temper tantrum about it, blasting the beast with illusory flame, he relents and just hands the damn thing over. Unfortunately for them, in doing that, he had to drop the illusion around them that made it seem as if they weren't there. Some bystanders recognize Mastermind as a mutant they beat on a few years back, so they decide to pick up where they left off.
Oh my god.
To which he creates an illusion of a giant flame-wreathed monster coming to his defense, to which the bigots decide to bounce. Despite his misgivings, Beast accompanies the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants back to the circus, but this whole while his brain is ticking away at him, telling him something's wrong. The day continues as Mastermind...
The perspective is changing.
Oh, yes.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. The day continues as Mastermind explains his next plan, but Hank keeps listening to his voice, and he just reminds him more and more of the past until it all clicks into place. And with that, there's no way he's gonna roll with this. It's time to kick some ass. He unleashes on the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, cracking skulls until he gets compressed between Unus and the Blob and sent shooting up into the air. Like if you squeeze a fucking bar of soap.
I was gonna say, like, some fucking non-collision video game physics. Amazing.
However, he comes back down to Earth in the exact same place, right between them, sending both Unus and the Blob shooting across the room.
Oh my god. That's incredible.
I love it. Unus and Blob aren't done yet, though, and they manage to knock him momentarily out of the fight. The beast retreats backwards as Unus and the Blob close in, through the bars of a lion's cage until he's finally trapped. Unus and the Blob follow him through, only to find out that this was the beast's plan all along. He leaps over the top of the pair, shutting them in the cage, but for at least the next while, they just crash around the cage and into one another.
Love that.
That's amazing. Hank then dashes off into the woods after Mastermind. Speaking of whom, has been running away like a bitch this whole time. When he finally slows, sure he's lost the beast, he gets a rude awakening, when in the branches of the very tree he shelters below, the beast speaks, making it clear he's not done with him. Mastermind throws everything he has at Hank, but with his memories restored, Hank knows how to deal with Mastermind. He pounces right through his illusions to land upon the villain, tearing a few strips of fabric off of Mastermind's trench coat. The strain of the encounter is enough that Mastermind has a nervous breakdown, raving madly about all manner of fantastical monsters. Mastermind doesn't even attempt to move or free himself as Beast calls the cops on a payphone and leaves him there in the rain. So that was the adventures of the Beast.
Wow.
Did you happen to catch the character debut? It's not technically a debut. She actually moved over here from the old Marvel romance comics. That would be one Patsy Walker. Hellcat.
Oh, shit. Okay.
I didn't know if you were going to catch it or not, so I didn't write it in. I wanted to wait and see.
I did not.
Yep, it's Patsy.
Okay.
What did we think about how the beast turned blue?
Well, he didn't turn blue.
He turned gray.
He turned gray, which is much worse.
Yes, significantly.
Really didn't like the second person. Did not enjoy that. 0 out of 10 on that one. The story itself was fairly solid, although still lacking some context on why he just turned into like a fucking murder machine. 3 out of 5.
Yeah, that's about where I am at.
Mm-hmm.
That first issue, Jerry was killing me.
It was really bad.
I have no idea how bad that was to write. That's, I guess, going to be it for us tonight. Mm-hmm. We're going to be back with you next week with Thor. Let's go through our usual housekeeping. People who know about gems and shit or thieving, please email us at comicsplaining@gmail.com. People who don't know about either of those things are still welcome to email us.
Uh-huh.
Don't, let yourself start thinking that we only want to hear from gem thieves. Maybe if you stole a gem in a video game and you don't even know about this, but you just want to tell us about it. You can also hit us up over on Facebook, Tumblr, or Twitter. Comicsplaining there. We have a Patreon if you'd like to donate there. You get episodes a day early, higher tiers, higher rewards. We have a coffee you can donate to. If you'd like to watch a video version of the show where you can see some of the tremendously great Beast artwork,
it's really, really good.
You can follow us over on YouTube, like, subscribe, and hit the bell button. We put out a version of the show that finds the clips we are talking about. Put them up there. Join our Discord. We're over there. We talk about this, that, and the other thing. Would love to have more people over there. Rate and review us on our podcatcher of choice. If you're on Spotify, just hit that 5-star. And we look forward to talking to you next week. Bye.
Bye.